Welcome back to Stateside Sports Hub. The international break has come and gone again, which means it's back to domestic football. And whilst it did take some of the edge off with some of our national teams making deep runs into their respective tournaments, those glory days are over now and we have to go back to reality. Reality being that for many countries, they didn't qualify for this tournament or they went out at the group stages. But should they be so disheartened by this? Does it mean that their footballing nation is in decline? Has their time at the top come and gone? In today's video, I wanted to address exactly that. Is your country still a footballing powerhouse? To start off, let's look at how I'm defining the term footballing powerhouse. Put simply, I mean a nation that can compete for major honors both domestically and internationally. Obviously, domestically, the Champions League is the pinnacle. And to be able to compete there year in, year out, you need to be winning your domestic league. And then on the international stage, competing for the World Cup or the Euros is the ultimate. But realistically, if you can consistently reach the latter stages of these tournaments, then you're doing pretty well. So that will be my definition anyway. And if that's the case, can any team still compete? Well, yes, but they need to be smart about it. Let's take Germany as our first example. Now, they aren't competing at the moment. They haven't won the World Cup since 2014, and their last Euros triumph came in 1996. However, that doesn't mean that German football isn't strong. Bayern Munich just won the Champions League and Borussia Dortmund were finalists in 2013 and 2015. The Bundesliga is undoubtedly one of the strongest domestic leagues in Europe. It's consistently challenging for supremacy with the Premier League and La Liga. And as long as that continues, German football will remain strong on the continent. Yes, Germany haven't been brilliant lately, but with a strong domestic league, it's only a matter of time until they are back competing for honors again. Now let's look at Spain. This one might seem a little bit harsh because Spain are the reigning European champions, but stick with me here. Whilst they are the reigning champions, their football has been on the decline for quite some time now. They don't dominate possession like they used to. Their tiki-taka style of play was very effective, but it wasn't necessarily attractive football. In fact, it was quite boring to watch at times, and now teams have found ways to nullify it. As for their domestic competitions, Real Madrid have been dominating recently, but they haven't had the same success in Europe as they did under Jose Mourinho and Carlo Ancelotti. And Barcelona are in a state of flux. They are a work in progress under Xavi Hernandez, and it could be some time before they are back competing for the biggest prizes. There is definitely potential there, though, there's no doubt about that. Both Atletico Madrid and Real Sociedad have been competing in the Europa League in recent seasons, too. So Spanish football is in a good place, it's just that their national team isn't quite up to scratch right now. Moving on, let's talk about England. This one is pretty obvious. England were runners-up in the Euros last year and are looking good for the World Cup in Qatar later this year. Domestically, they are also very much still a powerhouse. Manchester City are the current champions and have won the competition in recent years. Liverpool are regular contenders and Chelsea won the Champions League in 2021. As for Arsenal, Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United, they may not win the league, but they are often good enough to qualify for the Champions League. So the Premier League is very strong, and the same can be said for the national team. Next up is France, again, another one that might seem obvious. France are the current world champions and have a squad full of superstars. Domestically, Ligue 1 is not as strong as the other major European leagues, but Paris Saint-Germain have been dominating and regularly reaching the latter stages of the Champions League. As long as PSG continue to attract big names, then French football will remain strong. France's national team is also in a great place. They have a squad full of superstars and are expected to be one of the favorites for the upcoming World Cup. Another team that probably seems obvious is Portugal. They have Cristiano Ronaldo, who is arguably the greatest player of all time. They've also won the Euros in 2016 and have a good crop of young players coming through the ranks. Domestically, their league is not as strong as some of the others, but they do have a few teams who are regulars in European competitions, namely Sporting CP, SL Benfica, and FC Porto. One team that might surprise you is the Netherlands. They haven't won anything in quite some time, but they do have a strong domestic league and a good crop of young players coming through. Ajax are regulars in the Champions League, and PSV Eindhoven and Feyenoord are also strong contenders in the Eredivisie. On the international stage, they are also looking good. They reached the final of the most recent edition of the Nations League and are always a threat in qualifying for major tournaments. Now let's talk about Argentina. They haven't won the World Cup since 1986, but they do have a strong domestic league and a good crop of young players coming through. Boca Juniors and River Plate are two of the most successful clubs in South America and regularly compete in the Copa Libertadores. On the international stage, they are also looking good. They reached the final of the most recent Copa America and are expected to be one of the favorites for the upcoming World Cup. Finally, let's talk about Brazil. They haven't won the World Cup since 2002, but they do have a strong domestic league and a good crop of young players coming through. Palmeiras, Flamengo, and Atlético Mineiro are just a few of the top teams in Brazil and regularly compete in the Copa Libertadores. On the international stage, they are also looking good. They won the most recent Copa America and are expected to be one of the favorites for the upcoming World Cup. So what do you think? Are there any other teams that should have made it on this list? Let me know in the comments below. I wanted to keep it to 10, but there are obviously many more teams that could have made it. The main takeaway from this video, though, is that if your country has a strong domestic league, then it will always be able to compete domestically and internationally. It takes time to build a team, but if you have a solid foundation, then you will always be able to compete. If you enjoyed this video, then please make sure to subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty of exciting videos coming up. Thanks for watching.